Here is the recap of the first season of Ironheart. The action takes place after the events of the movie Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Riri Williams is studying at MIT, a very prestigious technological university. She still has not completed her grand project and is trying to do it by all means. Of course, she lacks the most important resource, money. That's why she started moonlighting, and not in the most honest way. Riri began to sell technologies that were developed at MIT to other universities. This even becomes known to her supervisors. But the last straw was that Riri's experiments were becoming more and more dangerous. In the end, the only correct decision was to cancel Riri's scholarship and kick her out of the university. The frustrated woman realizes that she needs to get her research out of the lab somehow, but she won't just be allowed to do so. So she steals some expensive parts, puts on her suit, and flies straight from the university to her hometown of Chicago. During the flight, the suit malfunctions, and she falls. However, she survives, and somehow makes it to her home, where her mother meets her. We learn that as a child, Riri often visited her stepfather's workshop. There she learned everything she knows now. One day, criminal gangs passing by started shooting at the workshop, and her stepfather and her best friend Natalie were killed in the firefight. Riri is still reeling from the incident and thinks of Natalie often. Meanwhile, we are shown a young gang of criminals who only rob the rich. They go to the next business, but their technician named Stuart screws up, because of which they have to leave the crime scene in a hurry. Their leader, nicknamed the Hood, realizes that they need a more intelligent specialist, and as luck would have it, his cousin John notices Riri flying through the sky. Soon, the main character decides to get busy repairing her suit and heads to a junk store to find the missing parts. She's broke and wonders how she can get it all on loan. That's when John shows up and pays for her. He pretends he doesn't understand why such a gifted woman is scrounging around in a dumpster and offers her a job. The next morning, Riri arrives at the designated location and takes the elevator. Suddenly it stops and starts to go gas. A voice in the speaker tells her that she has 3 minutes to disarm the device or she will die. However, the genius engineer decides to go her own way and simply hacks into the elevator system. The Hood greets Riri and tells her that she passed the test. He suggests that she join their team. The main character realizes that they are doing some illegal business and at first refuses. However, when the Hood gives her a tidy sum and promises her even more, Riri agrees. She is introduced to all the members of the gang. Their leader, the Hood, has found a magic cloak somewhere. Now he can become invisible, teleport, as well as empower bullets and bend their trajectory. His cousin John is in charge of recruiting, Clown's an explosive specialist, Slug a top-notch hacker, sisters Jerry and Roz are in charge of brute force, and Stuart, the previous engineer, gets kicked off the team. Riri has to rebuild her iron suit in 24 hours, as it will be needed in their tomorrow's business. The main character starts working and realizes that for the device to fully function, she will need a full-fledged artificial intelligence because the old one is no good for anything. She decides to use a copy of her consciousness, but since the process is very long, Riri falls asleep and dreams about her dead friend Natalie. When she wakes up, she sees that her artificial intelligence has acquired the form and memories of her friend. She doesn't understand how this could have happened, but she has no time to find out, as the suit needs to be completed as soon as possible. Natalie helps her find an arms dealer on the darknet. Riri goes to see him, but he's incredibly cowardly and didn't expect anyone to be able to declassify him. By the way, his name is Ezekiel Stane, and he is the son of Obadiah Stane. He is Tony Stark's business partner from the first Iron Man movie. The old man decided to betray the main character and take over his companies. However, Stark killed him. In modern times, Zeke is ashamed of what his father was like and doesn't want to become like him. Riri convinces the man to share some equipment with her and motivates him to fight back against his abusers. The main character fixes her costume just in time for the heist to begin. If anything, their plan is incredibly stupid, so I don't even want to tell you about it. Roughly speaking, they want to get a lot of money from a rich businesswoman. Along the way, Riri helps Natalie, but as they complete the task, a cop shows up and the artificial intelligence freezes. If it wasn't for the hood, the main character would have been arrested. Natalie later reports that she was scared of the gun because she has memories of the real Natalie, and she was shot by bandits. She also reports that she felt a strange radiation from the hood and asks Riri to take a sample of his cape for examination. We also see that this cloak is slowly starting to drive the man crazy, and veins are showing on his body. The next day, Riri notices the strange behavior of their leader, and also learns from the police that their previous engineer Stuart was killed. She then takes Natalie's advice. The next target of their group is the head of Heirloom. The hood assures them that the actions of this biotech company are harming small farmers, but Riri begins to doubt the sincerity of his words. At night, the team sneaks into the Heirloom greenhouse. While the suit is being operated by Natalie, Riri sneaks inside to cut off a piece of the cape. At this point, the head of the corporation taunts Hood and has no intention of complying with his demands, for which the man kills the head of the corporation. Things get out of control and Riri tries to escape, but runs into John and he notices a piece of his cousin's cloak. He admits that they got rid of the previous engineer to leave no trace, and now they have to kill her too. However, the main character manages to escape, and John suffocates to death as the oxygen has been pumped out of the greenhouse. Also, Riri loses the artificial skin she had previously taken from Zeke, even though she promised him that her actions would not frame him. Meanwhile, the team leaves the scene. The Hood, out of rage and grief, decides to throw away his cape, but the cape shows him who is really responsible for his cousin's death. Riri learns that her mistake landed Zeke in jail. She goes to see him and promises to get him out of there. However, Zeke is angry and doesn't want to see her again. She also meets up with her childhood friend Xavier, and he learns that Riri has created an artificial intelligence in the form of his sister Natalie. He is angry with her, but towards the end of the season, he accepts this fact. Soon Riri analyzes the piece of cloak and realizes that it is indeed something magical and not technology. Together with her mom, she goes to a store of all sorts of mysticism, and surprisingly, there are real witches working there. They realize that the cloak is connected with some dark forces and turn the main character out of the store. However, the young sorceress Zelma soon meets Riri and tells her that the cloak most likely belongs to an entity like Dormammu. We saw him in the first Doctor Strange movie. Hood tells his team that it was Riri who killed John in the greenhouse. The man suspects a connection between the main character and Zeke, so he visits him in prison and helps him escape. He gets all his equipment and Zeke decides to put a bunch of implants in himself, which makes him a real killing machine. Hood sends the whole team to kill Riri. Only the main character manages to fight them off. Lastly, she informs them that their boss is lying to them, and also he and John killed engineer Stuart. When the woman goes outside, she meets Zeke, who wants revenge. But he is not going to kill her, as he is actually a good person. The man breaks her costume and advises her to run away from the city. The team then returns to the base and Zeke says he killed Riri. The other characters want an explanation as to why Hood killed Stuart. However, he has no intention of tolerating such behavior and kicks everyone off the team. The next day, it turns out that Hood has embedded his code into Zeke's system, and now the man cannot resist his commands. Together, they set out on a new job. Hood forces another rich man to sign over his company and house to him. We learn that it is his father who kicked him out of the house when he was 12 years old. The Hood holds a grudge against him and has decided to become rich and powerful at all costs. Some time ago, when he tried to rob him for the first time, things didn't go according to plan, and he had to escape. The guards trapped him in a corner. Suddenly, a mysterious figure appeared and opened a door in front of him where there shouldn't have been one. The strange man offered to fulfill his wish, that is, to become very rich. And in exchange, he asked for a piece of himself. After that, he gave him the cloak and said that now he could decide his own fate. Nowadays, Hood is enjoying a rich life as he always wanted, but something is still missing. He summons his patron for a conversation, and the man says Hood is wasting his potential and then walks away. Meanwhile, Riri wants to flee the city, but her mother convinces her to fight. Together with her friends, she reassembles the suit, and she is helped by the sorceress Zelma, who uses a piece of the cloak as an infinite source of energy. But when they launch the suit, for some reason Natalie, the artificial intelligence, is erased. A frustrated Riri can't do anything about it, but there's no time, and she heads to Hood's base. There she is met by Zeke, who can't control himself. The main character manages to disable him and regain control of his body. Going upstairs, she fights Hood, who has already started to turn into a monster. She eventually takes his cloak away from him and leaves. Downstairs, she meets the same mysterious figure. He introduces himself to her by the name of Mephisto. The Tempter manipulates her and offers her a deal. If Riri gives him a piece of herself, he will help her get Natalie back. The main character agrees, and after some time, thanks to technology and magic, she not only restores the artificial intelligence, she truly resurrects Natalie. And dark veins proliferate on Riri's body. Also in the scene after the credits, we see Hood, who has lost his powers, come to Zelma's store and ask her for help. This is the end of the first season. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the like button. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.